Thanks for joining here. So let's jump right into it. So again, as Jill said, the topic of the day is eliminating user-related technical debt. So first, let's define what technical debt is. There are various definitions for it. The easiest way of looking at it is um, anything that you are not using today or you don't plan to use, and that's hindering your progress. That's the easiest way of defining technical debt. Think about it this way. We have a really old org. We set up our org in 2005, and over the years, administrators have come on and moved on. Ideas have changed, processes have changed, requirements have changed. What that all means is we have some workflows and field updates set up that are updating things, and those have been computed into the equation when we wrote our Apex test classes and triggers and whatnot. Same deal for all the validation rules and such that expect you to follow a particular process. And as time went by, some of these have been cleaned up over time. Some administrators have come in and did the right thing, figured out how to clean up existing processes before you add on. And others, because of the speed of innovation that was required at that point in time, just added on layers to it. So now what that all means is there are some parts of our org that we need to sort of navigate our way through before we make a change. Otherwise, you end up having a problem, right? That navigation, that path that we have to chart before we go through to make a change in the org is technical debt. And this webinar is designed to help you guys identify what things could be hindering your process, and then how to navigate your way through it or eliminate some of that stuff. Now, we did something similar. This is a series that's been going on. So we did something similar at a holistic level on a couple of earlier webinars there. So for this particular one, we're going to super focus on the user-related technical debt, right? And again, I am Satyamurthy Sridhar. I'm the VP of Products and Services, and you're going to be joining this journey with me to see how we can help you here. So first, before we jump into some of the feature sets itself, I see some folks here who are existing customers. Thank you for being a customer. Some folks I have talked to before, some folks I have not, waiting to talk to me, whatnot. So for those folks here who I have not talked to before, let me quickly introduce Snapshot. Snapshot is org management for Salesforce. And we really target the Salesforce administrators. Yes, we do support developers as well, but we find that administrators really lack some tools to help you move fast in doing things that you currently do, and we are really trying to fill that hole. Breaking down Snapshot, some of the things that we can do is we are clicks, not code release management. So, we have chain sets, whatnot, but really that is being superseded by some of the DevOps tools of the world. And those DevOps tools really target the Salesforce administrators. And we are taking a slightly different task. We want that release management process to be available to the Joe admin and the Sally admin there. And that's really what we want to provide. So it's a clicks, not code release management. As you migrate metadata, you need the ability to move data as well to test that newly created or migrated metadata. So we offer relational data migration as well. So this gives you the ability to move all your accounts and opportunities and contacts and all related custom objects and managed objects and maintain those relationships there. So you don't have to do all those VLOOKUP gymnastics in Excel before you use data loader. The next part of it, the next facet of Snapshot is org documentation optimization. We offer tools like data dictionaries and fields versus page layouts kind of documentation to help you understand how the org is set up. Maybe you want to generate administrator reference documentation, or you want to generate compliance documentation. We want to offer tools to help you do that faster, right? And as part of this particular webinar, we're going to super focus on the optimization aspect of it. And as I mentioned before, the user-related optimization primarily. We also offer profile and permission set management, help you visualize how your profiles and permission sets are set up, help you edit it, deploy it, clean up problems with it, merge them, create permission set groups as well. And as we move along, we'll be able to take a very quick look at it as well. So that's a very quick introduction to Snapshot. Let's go see today's agenda. This is the cleanup of user-related technical debt. So we're going to first visualize what user metadata exists and what are the different touch points. Maybe things like, my user is referenced in these workflows and the email address of that user is being referenced in these workflows. And yeah, I had to deactivate that user because he transitioned over to a different role in the company or switched companies, switched jobs, whatever be the case. We want to target both the active as well as inactive users who have moved on to a different version of their life. Now we want to clean up all that unnecessary stuff that's been lying around and make your org as smoothly administrable as possible. Now that's from a metadata perspective. We also want to offer things from a data perspective, clean up those owners and such. Maybe I want to pick up cases that are open and move it over to an active support user and such. Other niceties that come along with it, editing and cloning users. These will include things like, doing a deep clone, taking care of all the group memberships, queue memberships and such as well. Then understand from a security perspective, what are the profiles, permission sets assigned to this particular person and where they're getting security X versus security Y. And if you want to reassign them, we also have the ability to do that. The primary focus is going to be on the first three items, identifying metadata and cleaning that up, owner cleanup, and editing, cloning users. And we will see the permission stuff as part of this as well. With that said, let's jump right into the demo. So for those folks that we have talked to before, you already know what I'm showing here today. This is Snapshot. This is a client that's running on my box, and it's talking directly to my Salesforce orgs. Part and parcel of this is I don't have a need to share any metadata in any of these orgs or security credentials with anyone else, namely Metazoa in this case. So if this is running in your environment, this is completely running in your environment. You're not sharing anything with the Metazoa team. Right? In this particular case, I have two sandboxes connected to my production org, and I have created full metadata backups that grabs all the managed packages, profiles, permission sets, and all the workflows and things like that as well. Focusing on the user cleanup, I'm going to go to optimize. And there are various optimization tools there, field usage, picklist usage, forgotten assets to clean up all your tabs, whatnot. But I'm going to focus on one of our more recent features, user connection cleanup. Now, user connection cleanup is designed to help you first identify and then clean up user-related metadata. You can select users using various methods. You can search by name, roles, profiles, and we also can support selecting users by login date. Maybe you have an idea you have a policy in your org that says anybody who has not logged in the last month or 2 months, whatever, they need to be blown away. Right? They need to be deactivated, frozen, so we can keep track of them, whatever. So whatever be your idea, we have a way of selecting them. And there are some interesting things there. So for example, the user permission, this gives you some powerful functionality there. For example, if you want to go grab those dangerous users, people that have managed roles or manage users or modify all data, you select that permission, it will tell you exactly who is allowed this particular permission on an active user, inactive user, or both perspective, and grabs it. You can add anybody that you want. In this case, I've selected 3 of them across various purposes. With those things selected, I can go select some of the options available for cleanup. It could be things like permission set license. Some of my users are assigned a permission set license that I might have to clean up. And as part of deactivating the users, there's some cool functionality that Salesforce gives you. Remove them from account team members and deactivate their queue memberships and such. So maybe I rushed through it, I didn't do that properly, But some of the things that are still left behind is if you have a permission set license assigned to them, or even worse, a managed package license. Now, this is really costing me money because I have managed package, limited number of managed package licenses, maybe a CPQ license or a financial force license, whatever. I need to reclaim that license so I can give it to somebody else. Else, I have a deactivated user who's not using it, and I'm paying money for that. And there are various parts of it, looking at user permissions, data connections there that takes care of all your group members, queue members, things like user manager as well. So this is a deactivated user that might be acting as a manager to an active user, and that needs to be flipped out, whatever you prefer. There are various facilities here to go clean all that stuff out. So select what makes sense for you, right? For whatever user that you want, and you could run a report. So it investigates anybody that you have checkbox, just like all of our reports, and gives you an idea as to what, in this case, my user Bill Appleton is assigned to, what needs to be cleaned out. And you can see that user, it's investigating all of his settings and then comes back and tells me what are the different permission sets assigned to this user, what is the profile assigned, what is this role, what is the workflow email. So this user is actually assigned directly. His email is directly assigned to this particular workflow as a email address, not directly as a user reference. We have the ability to detect that as well and clean those things up. So what this all means is you have the ability to go report and identify this. And I did this for one user. You can do this for as many users as you want. And like all of our reports, you can right click and export it. This gives you a good start of identifying what users exist and what are their different touch points. Now with that identification, let's actually go in and clean these things up. That goes to the user cleanup tab. List of users, I can go select a replacement user. In this case, I'm choosing my user, Bill Barnes. So Bill Barnes is going to replace, as I have selected here, any of Bill Appleton's references. So you're going to select any user that you want right here. You can check box to select multiple users. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to replace myself. As you're selecting users, you can also see their current setup. So in this case, it's active, very limited license, and maybe I don't want to do that. I'm going to do this only for Bill. And then the options that I want to clean up. One of the cool things about this is it's going to tell you exactly what it's going to do before it does it. As you hover over things, you get a tooltip that tells you whether it's going to be a delete or a replace. So for example, the package license, this user is going to be assigned a package license, or is already assigned a package license that I need to remove. So in this case, it's going to be a delete. However, take an example of a user manager. You do need a manager. So in that particular case, the replacement user is going to be switched out of Bill Appleton, or rather Bill Appleton is going to be switched out with Bill Barnes. So depending upon the case here, depending upon the grouping, depending upon the case in question, we have a different functionality enabled. So it's pretty smart to switch between whatever you have selected and move forward. Some of the groupings that we have: targeting permissions, targeting data connections. These are like user managers, queue members, licenses, and such. And some of the metadata links. There are various things available here: case settings, default case membership there, case owner there, that could all be switched out, or some of the escalation rules. Those things needs to be flipped out. We could do all of that. Workflow users, if you're targeting this particular user, that could be replaced with Bill Barnes in this particular case, your user chosen replacement user. Some interesting things as well. Workflow email, in case that particular workflow has this user's email as part of the additional emails. We want to detect that and take it out as well, right? Inactivated user, for the most part, that user is completely gone away. It may not be a problem, but imagine a case where that user has switched over to a different role. Doesn't make sense to keep sending them emails with all your workflows. In that particular case, workflow emails or queue emails comes in extremely useful. Other things that obviously make sense are the team members, right? So select whatever makes sense, and there are some niceties here to help you rapidly select things with a right click. So as a right click, I can check all, check none, whatever makes sense, and then implement things appropriately. Once I selected these things, I can move forward with the user cleanup. But before that, maybe I want to make sure everything is going to work through fine because I'm targeting the production org directly. I can choose test run or stop after error or continue after error. So in this case, I'm going to choose test run because I want to do a validate. Obviously, that means that this change that I'm going to make is going to affect my org directly. Some of the other things that we have talked about in the previous webinars there, editing profiles or editing permission sets, those things, whatever change you make affect the backup, which you then turn around and deploy. So there is a two-step process to help you know exactly what you're doing and force only that. Whereas in this particular case, you are actually touching the org and making the change in the org itself. That's why you have a test run before you move forward with the actual change, right? So in this case, I'm going to do a test run there, do a user cleanup, and we saw the report that shows you exactly what it's going to change, and it goes through exactly that. There are 9 permission set assignments that's going to be deleted for this particular user, 1 user package license that's also going to be deleted, and then removing the role user, and then updating the workflow email. So for this particular workflow there, bill@metazoa.com is going to get switched out with my email address. So that way it makes for a very seamless transition for this particular user who might be active or inactive, doesn't really matter, right? This is, of course, a test run only. When I'm ready for it, I can move forward and implement the actual change. When I do this, it's going to make a change directly in the org. So in this case, I'm going to step back out, just give you the idea that this is the way I move forward. This is all, of course, from a metadata perspective, right? It gives you the opportunity to identify all of these changes and make all of these changes through the trial and stop after error and such. Now I can do the same from a data perspective. That's really where the owner cleanup comes into play. And that has exactly like what you would expect a validate before you move forward with the run and such. Same setup as before. Whatever user that you selected in select connections shows up right here. Choose whoever makes sense. And you can absolutely choose multiples as well. That's perfectly fine. And an appropriate replacement user. And then the objects that you want to flip out. We are using the data API for this. So standard objects, custom objects, managed objects doesn't really matter. They're all fair game. And there are some niceties that we added in there, namely for things like cases and leads and such, where we know people want to come in and deal with things different ways. So for example, when I use the quick find to narrow things down, maybe I don't want to touch my closed cases, but I do want to change over all my open cases. So only those is selected. So that way this flip is going to work only for open cases. And I can choose various things. I want to do this for only unread emails. Read emails have already been dealt with, so I don't want to touch it. There are various niceties added in here. Right? With those things said, I can do a owner cleanup as well. That will run through, switch out all the cases and leads and whatnot. So in this case, I lucked out. This guy didn't have anything that's open or unread, so no harm, no foul. Right? If there were some, depending upon what you have set there, will show up, and then I can flip it out and actually implement it. But the bottom line is, it gives you the ability to clean out both the metadata as well as data, right? And that can be done for multiple users with an appropriate replacement user. Owner, obviously, it makes sense only to replace, whereas the metadata gives you both, depending on the need there, whether to delete or whether to replace. It switches between them intelligently. And the easiest way of going through it is either watch our videos. When you hit the plus button right there, that take you to our support site, show you the appropriate video that walks you through it. Or you can always hover over it so you can get instant idea about what it's going to do, whether it's going to remove or it's going to replace. Right? So that's a very quick way of cleaning up my user. Now, one of the things that we have also done here is, we've overloaded every single thing that we can think of. When you right click here, you can go in and choose various ways of selecting those users, check inactive, active, whatever. But you can also edit these users. So in case their email address needs to be switched out or phone number needs to be added in, it needs to be inactivated, frozen, whatever, you can do that quick user management right here. Now, let's say I don't want to do that. I really do want to clone this user. I have a user already set up. I want to simply go in and clone and create another user with exactly the same setting. There are some fantastic tools available in App Exchange specifically for this need. This just gives you a way of doing exactly the same thing without too much work, without installing anything new and going to a different location. Whatever user you have, it remembers, this user is the one going to be cloning. You type in whatever you need, generate the password, notify the user. But the most interesting thing is it can do a deep clone. It can clone out and then set your same permission set, groups, all the assignments that you typically go through, including queues and groups, can be added on optionally. Anything that you don't want, simply uncheck. Now the new user that gets created. I want to call myself, Sridhar Appleton here. This is the new cloned user. That guy will be assigned these permission set groups and licenses, but no group or queue assignments. Some great facilities available here. Roadmap item here, we are doing this for one user. Some of our customers who have been using this for a while, they've come back to us and say, hey, that's great, but I want to do this for multiple users. Or I want to do an upload of users and create some users with appropriate profiles, permission sets, user groups, whatever. So mass creation of users. There is something in the works for that. I think we are working on that in the week after next. So we are shooting for a month from now, a release for that. So if you are interested in that and if you need more information, feel free to reach out to support and we can maybe get you a beta version to play around with it. So that's again for some of the mass creating of the users and creating multiple users with the same clone and such. Right? So that gives you a way of cleaning up some of the user metadata and the user data. Now I'm going to flip out of that, talk about how to understand users a little bit better through by investigating how they got them security and then how to manage that security a little bit. So out of user connection cleanup, back into Snapshot, my developer org there, right click. So we went through the user connection cleanup. Now I'm going to manage the security there. So I want to go to security profiles and permission sets first. Profiles and permission sets, for some of the users that played around with this, gives you a way of reporting on your profiles and permission sets. For starters, anything that you choose, you can see in this case, I've selected profiles, object permissions. You can see a list of profiles against a list of objects and a matrix that shows you what profiles has access to what objects. Any matrix that you see in Snapshot can be right-clicked and exported. And you can see the same for permission set as well. Right? Now, the key thing is, since we are talking about users, you can combine the two into what we very creatively call combined security and do the same. The first time you run this, it will detect and ask you which user that you want to run this for. In this case, I already have it set up for Bill. In case you want to direct towards other users there, you can select users using the same mechanism as we had before, searching for users by name, role, profile, user permission, whatever, selecting up to 500 users, and then looking at their security. So what this does is it picks up any user, finds out the profile they've been assigned, the list of permission sets they've been assigned, crunch that metadata, and the metadata is fetched from the backup that you already created, the snapshot that you already created, and then lists out the security. So in this case, it shows me I have full CRUD to that count object. And it shows a special color going on there. Others are in black, but this is in green, and that has meaning as well. If I go into a detailed report, it gives me further information as to how I got that security. It shows me Bill is assigned the custom standard user profile, which gives him read and view. Very basic security there through the profile, but that is elevated using these perm sets assigned to him. And that escalation finally yields full CRUD access. So that typical debugging that you would go through, how does this person have delete access to the account object? He's not supposed to. I've assigned the right profile to this particular person. Maybe there is a sneaky permission set that gives him that delete access. And without you having to go through all the 150 permission sets you have in your org, this gives you an easy way of finding out how he got that access. So from a debugging perspective, this becomes a very, very critical tool. Right? Now, with that in mind, I have the ability to go in and export all of that stuff, get out of detailed mode, whatever. You can schedule these reports as well. With that in mind, I can go change Bill's setup. That's the user permission assignments that I launched. And there are various modes assigned to this particular tool there. I'm in the user mode, and you can select users like before. I've selected Bill, and it shows me the profile Bill has been assigned, the permission set groups Bill has been assigned. In this case, I don't have any in this particular org, and the list of permission sets that have been assigned to him. This is another place where we can make direct changes to the org. I can go select anything that I want to assign or deselect anything that I want to unassign. And if I go save that, it is going to directly make the change to the org, and it tells me exactly what was done. Right? This is again making changes directly to my org. Right? And it also you can switch between the modes right here. So if I switch over to permission set mode there, whatever permission set I choose, you can see my users selection changing. Whatever user I choose, it shows me what permissions, whatever permission set I choose, it shows me what users have been assigned to that permission set. I can always do mass assignments as well. So that will update, in this case, Josh's assignment with this particular perm set. Right? So some great ways of seeing all that stuff. And same deal for profiles and whatnot. Choose anybody, it shows you what, choose any profile, it shows you what user has been assigned to this particular profile, in this case, none. If I go to something like admin, it shows you this person is assigned, calls all that stuff out. Now, using this, I can manipulate the user's assignments. But there are some other things available right here as well. And this was, again, covered very quickly as part of the previous webinars there. You can create perm set groups, select whatever you want. It goes, manipulates assignments there and shows you and gives you the ability to create perm set groups. And more importantly, you can also merge profiles. So you can slowly move over to a permission set based world. Let me quickly run a demo of that. You can select whatever profiles that you want. Right? Typically, you would know what profiles are close to each other. If you don't, that's perfectly okay. We do have another feature, similar assets that can compare page layouts, profiles, permission sets, whatever. and help you come up with a list of profiles that are close enough that you can combine them and merge them into a single profile and an appropriate number of permission sets. So I've selected 4 here. I'm going to remove unnecessary restrictions and then calculate a replacement. And what this is going to do is it's going to crunch through all the permissions across these 4 profiles and then come up with one base profile and 4 permission sets. In other words, the combination of the profile and the permission set will give you back a user that has exactly the same security as if that user was assigned one of these profiles, right? And that's key because as an administrator, you are responsible and need to know about all the underlying permissions, whatnot, but your user shouldn't necessarily care. All they need to know is how to use Salesforce, how to use the processes that you have set up for them. They need not be concerned with the permissions there because that's your problem. And this gives you that capability. Creates a profile, creates a list of permission sets, gives you the ability to delete the old profiles if you so choose. But the most important point is it gives you the ability to reassign the users as well. So if somebody is assigned this particular profile that is getting deleted, they get reassigned to the base profile in an appropriate permission set, in this case, in a contract manager, of course, that gives them back the exact same security that they had before. So a powerful, powerful tool that gives you the ability to make some rapid changes without doing too much work. This is again a place where we are making direct changes to the org, right? It's a mass change, so that might be a little scary. That's totally normal. That's where the reports come into play. Whatever you choose, it can run a report of that, show you what security is assigned, what are the new profiles and their security, whatnot, before you switch out to merging the profiles and move over to the new profile or new permission sets. So there's end-to-end hand-holding, so you're always in a good place to know what exactly is going to happen, right? Worst case scenario, you always have those backups to restore the profiles if you so need, and then do the profile assignment and the permission set assignment using assigned permissions, right? Very typically, we don't see people deleting old profiles. They move everybody to a new profile and new set of permission sets, get comfortable, and when people are comfortable, then use the delete assets as part of our deploy to delete the old profiles. So what that all means is, providing a quick summary of what we just talked about, we have some features here through the user connection cleanup to identify, report on any of the different touch points for user, and clean out that user technical debt with respect to metadata. We also have the ability to clean out users and then switch them over to a different user. So identify and switch out the new users there. So that way, all that gymnastics is also taken care of by us. So reduce the work that you need to put in to clear out the cobwebs. And then if you need to manage security, we have some facilities there as well. Okay. There are other facets of optimization there that I'm not going to jump in. We are going to be covering that on ongoing webinars there as part of this series. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into our QA and we can address them. But the idea for this particular webinar is to handle the user-related technical debt. And we just walk through how you can do that both from a metadata perspective and data perspective. Just to complete that out, some of the roadmap items related to this, I did talk about how we are going to expand this out to handle from a metadata perspective, how to create additional users, mass create users there, and mass clone users if you so need to. And from a data perspective, you can also do that for other user lookups, not just for owners. There have been some requests coming in about how you can switch out other references that maybe like partner manager in your accounts or something like that. those are also in the works there. So you'll be able to do that as well as part of the user connection cleanup. With that, let's switch over to questions and handle anything that came up. And let's bring up the PowerPoint again. Oh, of course, if you want to contact us about any of this stuff, you're always welcome to give us a call, drop an email. There is, if you want to try out any of these features, if you're not already a customer, there is a 14-day free trial available, plus nonprofit pricing there. If you want to try it out, just go to App Exchange, look for Metazoa Snapshot, and give us a whirl, and support is available as part of that trial as well. Any amount of support, any amount of training that you need to try out any of these features is part and parcel of that. With that, let's switch over to questions.
We have one in the chat, Sridhar.
Let me pull up chat. All right, a new admin here, Snapshot and data governance for a public company. Can you briefly touch it? Thank you. Yeah, Snapshot gives you various documentation aspects there to help you understand how your org is structured and help you prep for governance. We have one of the prime reports that people go to is data dictionaries. Data dictionary to help you document what objects you have, fields you have, and where they are being used. Other things from a governance perspective is to help you understand, do some org monitoring, see how things are changing on a timely basis there, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever kind of basis. We can identify who changed what when through our time series report that looks at versions between the versions in the same org over time and tell you who changed what. We can also do the same kind of comparison, identify differences between orgs as well. So reporting within the same org over time, org monitoring scenario, or across orgs diff scenarios as well. We have facilities for that. I cannot cover this as part of this webinar there, given the focus, but we have covered that as part of our previous webinars, and you're welcome to give us a ring at support, and we can do a quick walkthrough for those kind of things as well. Okay. Other questions? There are a bunch of questions here about some of the business aspects and some of the roadmap items that people have requested. We looked at these as a technical webinar, so please reach out to sales@metazoa.com to cover those business aspects and roadmap items. I will respond directly to you on a one-on-one basis. And of course, support is always available to you guys if you want a quick question answered or a training session available to walk through any feature set, any of the things that we've talked about here or more that you want to walk through and get a better understanding of. Again, all of those training facilities are available as videos as well. In every one of our Snapshot features there is the plus icon that will help you go directly, context sensitive help to go directly to an appropriate video that walks you through the feature, but always support chat and email sessions are also available. So with that said, Jill, any other questions before we call it today here?
No, I think that's it.
Awesome,
like
guys.
Said,
thank you so much.
To answer. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for the time. I guess back to you then, Jill.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining. Have a good day.